Lesson 5-2, Example 2. Our objective here is learning to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So there's several different efficiency ways to multiply, to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. And here if we have 7/10 minus 3/8, we need to find a common denominator. And when you have unlike fractions, you always have to find a common denominator so that you can be adding or subtracting the same size pieces. So one of the ways to do that is to multiply the denominators together. And 10 times 8 gets us 80. Well, that's going to be a common multiple of both 10 and 8. So I can use that. I can say 80ths. I can turn both of these fractions into 80ths. 7/10 by 10 times 8 is going to get me 80. And if I do it to the bottom, I do it to the top. So 7 times 8 is 56. And 3/8, I'm going to multiply that by 10. 8 times 10 is 80. 3 times 10 is 30. So now I have 56 80ths, and I'm subtracting 30 80ths. There's my 7/10, and there's my 3/8. I have found equivalent fractions. Well, that means 56 minus 30, that's 26 80ths. 56 80ths, take away 30 80ths, I end up with 26 80ths. However, this is not in simplest form. So I'm going to divide both of these by 2, because 2 is a factor of both of those. And I'm going to end up with 13 40ths. Well, there's no factors in common here, so that is in simplest form. So 7/10 minus 3/8 is going to equal 13 40ths. Now, another method you could use is to use the lowest common denominator. This, by using the lowest common denominator, will save us this step at the end. Essentially what we're doing by finding the lowest common denominator is kind of doing the simplifying at the same time as we're finding the common denominator. So here we have 11/12 minus 3/8, and in this case we want to think, what are the common factors of 12 and 8? So I'm going to list those out. So I have 12 times 1, 12 times 2, 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3. Oh, there it is. 24 is a common multiple of both 8 and 12. And it's the first one that comes up, so I'm going to use 24. So I'm going to say 11/12 is going to go into 24ths. And 3/8 is going to, I'm going to take that and turn that into 24ths. Well, 12 times 2 is 24. If I do it to the bottom, I do it to the top. And 11 times 2 is 22. And 8 times 3 is 24. So 3 times 3 is 9. So I'm going to rewrite my problem. So now I have 22 24ths minus 9 24ths. So 11/12 minus 3/8 is equivalent to 22 24ths minus 9 24ths. Now that I have the same denominators, I have a common denominator. 22 minus 9 is 11, so I have 11 24ths. And that is already in most simplified form. So I can say my answer to this problem is 11 24ths. Another method I can look at is, again, still using common denominators, but in this case, some of those I can start to see right offhand. So I'm looking at 15 16ths and 1/8, and I'm looking at those denominators and thinking, is there a multiple that they have in common? Well, 16. 8 times 2 is 16, so I'm going to keep my 5/16, but I'm going to change my 1/8 into 16ths. and 2/16 is equal to 1/8. So I have 5/16 plus 2/16. I end up with 7/16. That is also most simplified form. So here we can have one of those denominators already being the common denominator. Let's look at this again, the same fractions, but subtracting rather than adding. So 5/16 again will stay the same, and our 1/8, we're going to change that into 16ths, end up with 2/16. So 5/16 minus 2/16 is 3/16. And again, that is our simplest form.